Hey there, it's Jason. Welcome to the Jason Wright Show, where the mission is very simple. It is to improve always in all ways. Look, I am on a mission to create the absolute best version of myself. And through the Jason Wright Show, I let you know everything I'm doing to make that happen. I interview incredible, remarkable, brilliant individuals from all different walks of life. And I also try to bring you tools, tactics, and protocols that will help you in your own personal mission to improve always in all ways. Now, let's get started. Folks, welcome to the Jason Wright Show. I've got a great conversation today coming at you with an incredible entrepreneur in the health and wellness space. You know, in the Jason Wright Show, I love to geek out on longevity, health, wellness. Well, this checks all the boxes. Today, I sat down with Ari Tulla, who is the founder of Elo Health. Here's what Elo does. It is just absolutely brilliant. So by taking say from an Apple Watch, an Oura ring, or some other wearable, they're constantly monitoring your data. They will take that data in coordination with your blood work, and they can custom design a supplement protocol just for you. Now, here's the really cool thing. If you're like me and you hate taking a bunch of different supplements that come in a bunch of different bottles, well, Elo does something incredibly unique in that they will create a customized gummy that actually tastes good to meet your profile and your needs. Pretty sweet, right? Well, they do the exact same thing with protein powders. Let's say that you want to have the right mix of electrolytes and protein that is balanced specifically and custom designed for you. I mean, we're talking about bespoke supplementation. This is really cool, and it's all driven by AI and biometric data. It's really cool. It's a great conversation. I know you're going to enjoy it. And hey, if you like this conversation, please do me a favor. Send this on. Please forward along to other people. I want to continue to grow the show. The more I can grow the show, the more guests like Ari and other fantastic, brilliant people I can get on here. So it would really mean a lot to me. Also, don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating out on iTunes. That helps us move up and continues, again, the profile of the show to get even better and better guests each and every week. So thank you so much for listening. Enjoy this conversation with Ari Tulla. And remember, do not ever stop improving. Always and always. Enjoy the show. Ari, welcome to the Jason Wright Show, sir. How are you?
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing great.
Well, this is going to be very exciting for me because I actually devote an entire day of my podcast to health and wellness. Actually, every Friday is the Authentic Health Fridays with my business partner, Dr. Gus Vickery, who is a precision medicine physician here in the States. And he's actually in Asheville, North Carolina. And so whenever I learned about what you are doing at Elo Health, am I pronouncing that right? Elo Health?
Yep, that's great.
Okay.
Elo means life in Finnish, so that's how we get the name.
Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't butchering that with my East Texas vernacular. And so whenever I saw what you guys were doing, I mean, it is exactly the sort of thing I like to geek out on: precision health, precision medicine, longevity, and more specifically, as though, it's a little bit redundant saying precision, but also customized and tailored to the actual human. So without going on anymore as a fanboy of your company, kind of tell me about you and how this interest in longevity, health, and wellness, and now to the point where you are turning it into an enterprise. How did this story all come about?
Yeah, thank you. It's a long story, as often good stories are. But I'm from Finland and northern country in Europe, and I played ice hockey my youth, and had a big hope of getting to NHL and play with the pros. I was never big enough, fast enough, bad enough. And hockey is a very rough sport. And, when I was kind of growing up, the size of players got bigger, and I'm 6 feet, and, as a defender, tough to play the game when, people are 6, 3, 4 now even. Anyhow, I mean, I had this, hope and spent a lot of time on the hockey rink and training, twice a day, most of my youth. And that made me, a person who kind of believes I'm still an athlete. Even at the right age of 45, I try to still compete and do stuff. And that was kind of the initiation for me that, I thought about health, in a very broad way, and performance in a way that I want to perform at high level on track and, on the rink and, later on bike and rock climbing and whatnot. So that became really key piece of my life. I mean, it's one kind of guiding light. I mean, I need to go out, do something active almost every day. If I don't, I mean, my family will throw me out and make me do it. Otherwise, I don't cope well with being inside for too long. And then I got into this idea of biohacking and optimization pretty early, almost 20 years ago. I was working in this small Finnish cell phone company called Nokia at the time, and I was in the team that invented the first smartphone. Oh, wow. That was many 2-3 years before iPhone came out, Android came out. So the first device that could take video, browse the web, do email and stuff like that. And we found out that device, it had a sensor in it that was basically tilting the photos from the landscape to portrait automatically. Because, it's really annoying. The old cameras, you take a photo, you have to manually tilt the photos. Super annoying. The first digital cameras. So we had to sit there in the phone that did that automatic. And then, we were hackers and, I was helping one team who was hacking into these sensors and basically building a system where you can build something new. And they ended up building the first step counter. And this team, they just came up with the idea of 10,000 steps. This is, 20 years ago. And of course, we didn't know much about it, but we got it out to the Nokia phones, and millions of people had this simple app on the phone that is simply saying you, "Dada, when you do 10,000 steps." And suddenly millions of people are using it every day. And we are getting feedback that this is the best thing ever. And it was just like this sort of thing that people threw out there. And then, of course, now 20 years later, we have 1 billion people every day walking 10,000 steps. So that moment for me was the epiphany that if we can track our body, if we can turn data into insight and helping us to gamify the world around us, that can be huge. And I spent about 10 years in video gaming before, so I kind of understood how powerful video games are, how impactful they are to people's lives. And that was the beginning for me. And then, I got sucked into, some of the early biohacker conferences. And ever since I've been very attuned on trying to understand what makes us perform at the highest level in the sports and also at the office and in life. I mean, you have 3 parts to life. You want to, perform on certain things like your hobbies. And then you, of course, have your work. But then, of course, you also have your family. Like you want to be the best father, the best mother, the best son, brother, and whoever you are. And that is really important for me to every day I want to have the right energy. I want to be able to do the right things and be a good person.
That's one of the things that I try to convey to people, that a lot of them think that it's all vanity, because guys like you and I who, and I'll speak for myself, I'm probably a bit obsessive about my health. I mean, and when it comes to keeping in the right metrics and everything, I wear an Oura ring. It looked like you might have one on as well. There you go. I mean, I was just actually in a conversation earlier with an entrepreneur this morning, and he was talking about how he had to just do away with wearables for a little while because he was getting a little too, neurotic about it. And I do face that myself, but it's not so much, yes, I want to look good like the next guy, but more than anything, I want to perform at a high level, at an optimal level. And with devices and the sort of actual metric management that we can do now, it's almost like, why wouldn't you? We can get so much more insight on our health than we could once before. And it's really fascinating knowing that you have this background with Nokia and kind of like one of the genesis, if you will, of wearables, because so many of the people that I interact with, a great example that comes to mind, a guy named Joel Green here in the States that wrote the book, The Immunity Code. He's become a friend and a mentor He came from tech. Dave Asprey, kind of the godfather of biohacking. Dave came from the tech industry. And so it's this wonderful marriage that we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years of guys like yourself with a tech background and the ability to apply that data to health and wellness and tracking. I honestly think that it is probably, Ari, what is going to over here. I mean, the Finns are definitely healthier in the aggregate than the Americans. I don't think I'm going to get out on that limb and hope it doesn't snap. You are. And I've argued that we have got to get more people tracking their data, more people understanding you don't just go get your blood work done before you're having surgery or as that random physical you might have, that you need to understand these markers. So I think you're really on to something. So when did you take it from this epiphany and seeing what was happening with this kind of data revolution as it's related to health into applying that to molecules and supplementation, which I know is what your primary focus is on now, which I totally want to go all the way as deep down that rabbit hole as you want to.
Yes, I mean that was like the first prong of the story that I got my tech background, my own personal passion about high performance, and I never been the most performant, but the older you get, the higher performance you get because other people are kind of slowing down. So I always believe that if you can just keep your nose above the water long enough, there won't be many people left in the end. So that's kind of my goal. That I want to be there at age 70 or 80, and then there won't be many other people who are able to stay up for that long. But the other part of my story, and why I do what I do today, is really because my wife had a thyroid tumor 20 years ago as well. And while I was working at Nokia, suddenly she's finding out there's a fish-sized tumor on her neck, healthy, athletic 22-year-old woman. And that was a moment for us that what the hell? We had to face mortality first time. Luckily, it was taken out, other thyroid partially together with it. And that led into autoimmune hormonal imbalances, these medical unknowns. And we didn't think about that much because we were we still saved. The medical system did what they do. They took it away. There was nothing beyond that. So she was healed. But then she was medicated for life with medications that made it impossible to get pregnant. And of course, over the years, it started to bug us more and more that, we want to have a family. I mean, you found the love of your life and, you want to build a house together and home together and a family. So we ended up spending almost 10 years with my wife on trying to find a solution. We worked with a lot of different healthcare providers in Europe. We moved to the US 16 years ago to California, and we had this gold-plated health plan, those Cadillac plans that you get from as an executive. We can go to any doctor we want, and there's no cost. But there are a million doctors. How the hell do you know who do you go? Super difficult. And you come from Europe where you are given what you get. You are given a doctor. You don't pick a doctor out of a million. And then you get to the US, you're like, this is pretty tough to navigate. And I'm pretty smart people. We have the means, yet we can't really find the right care. So we had to spend 50 different doctors, talk with them. We found more alternative medicine doctors who helped us to think about diet. And one person guided us into this sort of a diet that was focused on almost like a keto type of diet, but lowering inflammation in the body. Similar diet is used today for Hashimoto disease, even ALS and so forth. And it does work. So anyway, that diet was able to help her body to lower inflammation, heal itself, and get out of the medications. And that led us finally to be able to get pregnant with IVF.
Oh, congratulations.
And so that was really a long battle. And I became a firm believer of this idea of food can be medicine. We were healthy, but the nutrition, the food healed my wife's body. And that became a guiding light for me in a way. I want to do something in food. And we went really deep into this. So unfortunately, we had another incident, with the first pregnancy. Our first son ended up dying because of totally irrelated issue. And that was the moment when we were like, how can it be like we spent a decade on something, every day thinking about it, and then this is the end game. And that was the time when I decided to leave tech, and I became a healthcare entrepreneur. I started the first company called BetterDoctor, helping people find doctors because we had really hard time finding our own. And that company, it grew to be quite big, and we now have helped more than 200 million people in the US to find a doctor. So it's been really like a great, story. Took 10 years to build that company. But at the same time, I always was thinking about what can we do in nutrition. And we started a very small, kind of like a angel investment vehicle with my wife. And we've been investing in 50 companies, mainly in the space of food and high performance. So we've been following this market very closely. And 3 years ago, I finally had the time to go into it myself and start a company that I believe can be very impactful. And like you said, we focus on looking at your body, the data we get from it. It could be blood biomarkers, it could be your wearable devices, it could be assessment like a doctor does, questionnaire. And then we turn that with AI into the right nutrition plan that we then deliver for you. And we give you codes. So there's always a codes between translating the complicated world of nutrition and health to you. So that's what Elo is all about.
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm so sorry about the tragedy, that 10-year journey that you guys were on. Even though that's not the center of our conversation, I'm not going to pass that up, brother. I am so sorry as a father. That's terrible. So that first and foremost, I want to say I'm sorry for that. Secondly, isn't it amazing how I'm so glad that you guys came over here to look at our healthcare system, because it is literally the best of times and worst of times whenever you enter the American healthcare system. We have just amazing cutting edge technology. We have incredible physicians, but we have and I don't say this in a derogatory manner, we have an incredibly uneducated populace, because people just don't spend their lives thinking about the stuff that you and I geek out on and that we turn into a business and that sort of thing. Most people are just living their lives. And so it is quite an incredible, I don't know. It's a crazy sea to try to navigate. So what I want to know about Elo is one, just a couple of questions that I know will be so easy for you. These are softballs for you, but conceptually, I know exactly what you're doing. So how often if I come into Elo, and first of all, am I a subscriber or is it one time? How is my interaction with you?
Yeah, we look at every person as a member.
Okay.
You would be a member for your primary care doctor. We have to look at long-term relationship, because the fact is that 1 month, 2 months is not going to be enough. Okay. This is a long-term play. You have to spend and invest time and effort into, changing behavior and improving, upgrading your metabolic system, the way your body works. And testing perspective. So we started the company. So like I said, I'm really focused on this idea that food should be medicine. Today, food is the culprit of the disease. Most of us are getting sick because of the food.
Could not agree more.
We don't move enough. We don't sleep enough. We have too much stress. But the food is really the culprit that we have to change. So funny enough, 70% of the people who die today, they are dying too early because of the food they are eating. But we can also take the food, almost the same food, and we can use it as a medicine, and we can heal people. So it's unbelievable how powerful that one thing can be. And Elo is really not a supplement company per se. We started from there because I wanted to validate things that have really not been done before. So what we started to do 2.5 years ago, we started with the blood test. You get the kit at home, you prick your finger, you send the kit to our lab, we test it, and then you get a pretty good understanding of your biomarker panel. We do the lipid panel, think about LDL, HDL, triglycerides. We look at A1C, which is the diabetes biomarker. We also look at vitamins, minerals, like vitamin D, B, iron, and so forth. And also your inflammation. That was the key indicator for my wife about health. So that panel is giving a pretty good idea, where are you today? What is your health like? And then what we did, we connected you with the coach, registered dietitian who can communicate with you, go through the results and go through your questionnaire, go through your data, how you sleep, how active are you, your weight, and so forth. And then build the right plan. Very manual in the beginning. because you can't deploy AI before you know it can even be done. So you want to do something very manual first. And then we send people supplement packets, a daily packet with the right supplements in it. And then we tested people again after 3 months. And we run through thousands of people to understand how it works. And the outcomes were great. At the month 6, most people had improved some of the key biomarkers that we were testing. And many times, we have a few instances that I love the most, that, a doctor of these people signed up themselves. I mean, that to me is the ultimate testimony that, somebody went to the doctor office and the doctor's giving a high five, like, you're looking healthier now. And then the doctor signs up. I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know how doctors often resent their resentment on this idea of like supplements and nutrition. They don't really have the education, but that was like I felt really good when that happened. And what we learned in that process is that testing people that often is only for kind of the pretty hardcore folks, people who really committed, like maybe you and me. And what we have done now in the last 2 years is to simplify the process. So we added another product called Smart Protein. So it's basically a protein powder that has, protein, of course, and carbs, electrolytes, and supplements. So people who don't like take pills, they can take the protein powder. And we can assess that without the blood test. You can always take a blood test if you want, but we are making it possible to get in without the blood test. Because some people, they just are afraid to prick a finger. I know it doesn't sound a big deal for a lot of people, but for many people, I mean, it's scary. You don't want to see your own blood. And you don't want to do that all the time. And now what we are doing, we are launching a new product right now that is basically taking the supplement system and making it much better, replacing the pills with the 3D printed gummy vitamin, and also doing an assessment in the beginning on a questionnaire basis. You can always do a blood test. You can always connect your wearable devices. But with the assessment, we have enough data now from the previous people that we can do an assessment that gets us almost the same place. And then we make it very easy. You can just sign up and get the product immediately. No need to do the blood testing. So it's really been about how do we simplify this to a level that we can get it to not thousands of people, but to millions of people. How can we do that? And that's been really the thinking that we have had in the last year. And I think the next 2 years will tell the story. Like, let's see how it works. But I'm hopeful now that we have a system in place today that will be, I think, really valuable for a lot of people. We also looked at how do we lower the price point. We went from like $129 a month. Now we are at the lowest price point is $60 about, or $59 a month. And that's already pretty good price point if you think that you get 7 supplement pills as a gummy every day. And, if you go buy 7 pill bottles in Amazon, you're going to pay more than $59.
That's an incredible price point. Actually, it's one of the problems that my partner and I are trying to solve at Authentic Health is getting rid of the lids, in the of your supplements. And he is that, again, he's that precision medicine physician. Started as a primary care physician. Now he focuses on supplement stacks, bioregulating peptides, and all of these things that are truly based on the results of this testing. One of the things that I want you to kind of dig into a little bit more is the Elo Smart Gummy, which I presume is the one that you just kind of mentioned there, which is that's revolutionary because in the health and wellness space, everybody's making a gummy. The gummies became, everybody's trying to, but they're all universal, right? It's a formulation that goes to everyone. So if your vitamin D markers are off the charts, well, you're still going to get some more with this gummy. Yours are, it sounds like it's like a customized gummy based on your actual biofeedback. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. I mean,
that's awesome.
2 years of work, we have found a partner who is able to create the gummy. So here's the gummy. This is my gummy. Okay. It has 7 layers, and every layer represents 1 pill. So we have a payload of about 14 grams here, and every layer we can basically add 1 pill worth of ingredients, nutrients. And the cool thing is that the company we partnered with, they are able to do this in a 3D printer. So we are 3D printing every gummy freshly to you after you have ordered. We have 389 million combinations today for the gummies. So this is based on 40 different active ingredients that we've been using on the pills already and powders. These all have scientific relevance, human trial studies that are powering our AI. So we know based on the assessments we do about you, about 150 assessments today, we know what you need. And then we are able to print that at the right quantities into the gummy and send it to you. It takes 7 to 14 days from the order to get the gummy in your doorsteps. And the cool thing is that, it's not very big. It tastes great.
Yeah.
It's just tasty. You can pick 8 flavors that are the right ones for you. So one of the 8 flavors. It's just a really different way of doing supplementation. And my flavor, for example, is blackcurrant. Very healthy. No sugar, by the way. All vegan. And every ingredient is tested in third-party labs before we do it. So it's like taking all those best practice we have done in the pills, we brought them into gummy world. And this is basically 7 of your normal gummies that you take today in one gummy made for you.
That's nuts. That's crazy. So my question is, that one that you just held up, you said that has 7 ingredients. So what are the
7 ingredients?
So what are the molecules that are in that I suppose was developed specifically for your specific needs?
Yeah. So in this specific gummy for me, I have ashwagandha, pretty high dose of ashwagandha. I have a vitamin D metabolization issue. I don't metabolize vitamin D like normal people do from sun. I had to dose pretty heavily. Okay. So here I have 3 layers of vitamin D. I think I have 5,000 IU of vitamin D in the gummy. So normally gummies have very low doses. We dose these in the same way as you dose the pills. I have probiotics here. I have zinc, and I have turmeric in a form of hydrocurd with black pepper.
Okay.
And we mask all of the flavors away. There's no negative flavor like ashwagandha. It smells like a horse hair. It tastes pretty earthy.
Yeah.
We mask that away, so you only taste the blackcurrant and like I said, 0 sugar, no glycemic index. I have a glucose monitor on. There's 0 spike on my glucose after eating the gummy, and it tastes pretty sweet.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, do you do anything in addition to that? Because like I'm thinking about NAC and then maybe like some berberine or just the other molecules that people like. So is that kind of like your core to overcome deficiencies, and then the rest of it might be based on your activity level? Obviously, you're an active guy, so therefore you're probably going to need a little more of the other molecules. Is that just to kind of keep your baseline steady, and then the others are based on what you know about your activity? How does that blend?
Yeah, really great question. So we only have 7 layers. I mean, we have people who would like to be 14. They would like to be 3 gummies. They want to get the morning and the day and the evening gummy, because suddenly you have these are really, if you have a lunch or dinner, this is a great treat. It's like a truffle that you have after your dinner. My wife been taking this for 1.5 years. She absolutely loves. It's like to run out, 1 week, and she's like upset about it. Like, where's my after dinner, treat? And that makes a very different habit, because when we did the study on this. So to kind of answer your question from this perspective, so we took the gummies 2 years ago, and we had a question. We are a very scientific grounded company, and we have, real scientists, MDs, physicians in the team. And the question was like, do gummies work? And we went to the science and literature, and there really was like 2 studies ever done about gummies and impact on blood biomarkers. 2 studies. And one study was on vitamin D and one on vitamin C. And the one study was like a 2-week study. They were mega dosing vitamin D and testing before and after. And they found out it worked. So what we did 1.5 years ago, we did the first vitamin D study at Elo side. We are publishing it tomorrow. And that study basically validated. We had, I think, 39 people in a cohort of gummies and 39 people in a cohort of pills side by side. And we saw the same impact on the same dosing on the pills, personalized dosing on the pills and the gummies on vitamin D level in your blood. And adherence on the gummies was higher. 70% of people preferred the gummies to the pills.
Yeah.
It was like unbelievable outcome. And we became believers. And then that's a study that tells us that we can use the gummy as kind of like a supplemental intervention. So what we do always, and our AI is doing, we are trying to identify the biggest need you have. What is the biggest bang for the buck we can help you on today? From the perspective of giving you, supplementation in the form of the gummy or the pills or the protein powder. And then also we give you coaching. So what could the coach do to you to help you? I mean, think about it. If you are an average American today, you likely have a high LDL. You have like too low HDL. You likely have, elevated A1C. Many people do. You likely have low vitamin D. So we know those are the, we have done enough studies. We know that those are the cases. I can't tackle all of them at once. It's like a whack-a-mole. You want to kind of start from the biggest bang for the buck. And it depends a bit what your goal is. If your goal is to run a marathon, or if your goal is to get pregnant, or if your goal is to lose weight, or goal is to get energy, those are different goals that are then impacting the AI to give you the best bang for the buck at that moment. And that's now automatically built into algorithm. And it can be complicated. But we try to really focus on 1 or 2 things any given time, not 5, because we just don't have enough input. And it's like, if you train for marathon or you train for triathlon. I mean, if you suck at swimming, you hate cycling, and you're a great runner. You don't want to be running 5 trainings a week, maybe once a week, and then you want to do cycling and you want to do swimming. Learn to swim before you want to, continue running practice. You have to kind of optimize your thinking.
Oh, wow. This is exciting. So is the AI working off just the results of the blood draws or the blood panels, or are you also taking wearable data? So I guess my question is, so yes, you've created what Ari needs based on his inability to metabolize vitamin D efficiently. So that needs to be in your gummy. That needs to be the thing because that's based on your body. But if I see you've got the Apple Watch on. So if all of a sudden I see that Ari is doing a lot more VO2 max he's using a lot more cardio, he's doing more strength training, just his caloric burn rate is going way high. So then the AI will supplement for that on your next round. Is that how you're tracking the ongoing data, or is it only coming from the blood work?
Yeah, great question. So the gummies, what we do, we can buy them in a 1-month subscription, 3-month or annual. And we are delivering you every 3 months if you do the quarter or the annual. If you do month to month, you of course get the month. Every time we are delivering a new shipment, we are recalculating your plan. And it depends what data we have available of you. Some people opt in not to connect to Apple Health or any devices. That's fine. Then we can base it only on assessment we do every quarter or every month on a questionnaire base. And it's like a pretty detailed, I think we have like 30 points today. They are modified depending what you need, your goals and so forth. So we go pretty deep into it. And we spend a lot of time thinking the questionnaire. You might think that questionnaire is a silly thing. It doesn't tell anything. But, they actually can be very well done. And they can give you really exact, almost prescription what you need if you do it right. And you have data behind it that we can then kind of build it upon. If you want to do blood tests, you can order a kit and get the blood test done. So they all do impact. Of course, well, if you have an Oura ring, you get HRV, you get, your sleep, recovery scores. Not all of those are flowing today into Apple Health. We don't today connect directly to Oura or Whoop or other devices. We use the Apple Health as a proxy because we believe it's the safest, easiest, and securest way for people to do it, because you can always turn it off if you want. If I connect directly to Oura or whatever, then you need to go and kind of cut the connection if you want to. Because we believe that it's your data, and this data is so valuable for you. We can almost like recreate who you are based on what we do. So we want to be very careful about the privacy matter and all these things. So, but anyway, we get all the data in from your wearable devices to the Apple Health, and we do use a lot of it today. Do we use all of it today, like the HRV? No, there's not enough science. Like we really don't know what some of these things do mean. But your example is really great. So I did move from rock climbing. I broke my toe 2 months ago, and I can't do rock climbing with a broken big toe. It's very difficult. So I've been cycling a lot more. And then in my next batch of the gummies, I'm gonna have a tart cherry, for example, because I went to the cycling. So that's pretty cool. And it tells me that I have this because I've changed the way I do things. So it can actually kind of even surprise me at times. And I'm the architect who built this thing.
Well, that is, man, Ari, that is cool. I mean, because you think about an athlete, like you talked about back when you were playing hockey, you're going to be training differently at different parts of the season. And yeah, kind of the old school way of doing it. Like for me, I grew up playing American football. And so, yes, when I'm training, I'm going to up my protein intake, up my caloric intake, just kind of real rudimentary, but not at the molecule level. I'm not looking at what I need to overcome that extra exertion. That's sweet, man. That's really cool.
Let me explain to you, because I mean, I think, with the gummy and with supplements, I mean, those are more foundational building blocks of your health. They're more these like things that, they are supplementing you to be optimal on these biomarkers and minimizing your deficiencies, optimizing the right values.
Yep.
So that's like, it's more long term. But what you mentioned here is really cool on the protein. So this is the Elo protein. So it comes always with your name at the front. And for example, I use whey protein because I was vegetarian for a long time, a vegan. My kids, I have two healthy kids today, so that chapter, is all great in my life.
Congratulations, good.
But they love to eat meat, and I don't want to put them in a world where they can only see vegan food. And so I whey isolate here. It also has electrolytes. So basically, if you buy like a Noom or whatnot, this one scoop has the same amount of electrolytes than you have in a Noom tablet, for example.
Okay.
So it's a recovery product for me. It says here a smart recovery for Ari. It also has BCAA, EAA blend. It has whole foods. Like think about like avid greens blend. It also has turmeric. We can also add here multivitamin. I didn't need it last month, but basically this is now optimized on a month by month basis based on my workout data. So every workout I did maybe 39 workouts last month, and that is then designing the blend here. The amino acid blend and everything. Every bag is hand-bagged, by the way. Every bag is unique in the protein. So what's also cool is that because I connect my Apple Watch and I track my workouts on mainly Apple Watch. I also use the bike computer, but I do cycling, I do rock climbing, I do surfing. So I turn on my Surfline app when I go surfing. It tracks my surfing. Of course, it does my heart rate and all this stuff. When I go cycling, I do my Strava. When I do rock climbing, I probably do Apple, the workout app. All that data flows into Elo via Apple Health. And every time I do a training, I can check my app and it tells me how much protein blend I need after my workout, right after workout. And that's pretty cool. I mean, and then I can track it. I can mark it done. And then I have this feedback loop that the system is getting better every month when I use it. The more I use Elo, the better it gets, the better it knows what I need. And that outcome level thing we have done now is pretty unique that nobody has really even tried to do before. And can we make it better? Yes, we can make it better all the time, but it's been really cool. We have some, athletes who are coming to us and they're like, well, this is a better system that you have than my person who I pay $50,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and actually some of the things we need to talk offline. I mean, this is really cool. This is serendipitous, this conversation, because of some of the products that we're developing right now at Authentic Health. I mean, you're nailing a lot of it. Now, that bag of protein with electrolytes what am I going to pay for that? And how long is it going to last?
$49 a month.
That's reasonable. And that's $49 a month. That's what you'd pay for something that you get at Drug Emporium or something in just a much lower grade, I'm sure. So that's not bad at all.
We know we know how much you use it. So I think you can today, price might be fluctuating a bit, but I think $69 if you pay, you get 2 bags a month. And then you can do it once a day, every day, or even twice a day some days. So you have enough. I use it every morning. And then I use it again at the recovery. So I use it a lot. And the 1 bag is not enough for me. So I get 2 bags every month for myself.
So what are you doing to track your nutrition? Your whole foods. Is there some sort of a metric that you're looking for that you guys are providing, or is that just more cognitive that you know what you're going to eat? Kind of how does your nutrition protocol stack into all this other supplementation?
Yeah, that's the reason why we started with the supplements, the pills, the powders, the gummies, because it's a very difficult world. And anyone listening, I mean, you have likely done an app that you can track your calories, what you eat. It is unbelievably time consuming and difficult because if you eat out, you don't know. I mean, you have some idea, but you really don't know what's in the food.
Exactly.
So we hope, I think, over the coming years, we're going to add, meal delivery, grocery deliveries, recipes and stuff like that. But I mean, when I talk to people, the Elo members, they tell me that they don't want to have another recipe app. They want to have something better, something easier. And we are figuring out what that is. We don't know yet. But I done myself, my fitness pal at times, and there are 50 million people who use it today. And it is a very, very good tool for weight loss to understand your baselines. I also have done almost now 4 years of continuous use of glucose monitors. And I learned a lot. I recorded more than 2,000 meals. And I know what the impact is. So I have a data set that we can make in the future, I hope, at Elo use when the glucose monitor will be here.
Yeah, that's
not here.
Yeah, that's what I'm ready for too. My youngest daughter is a type 1 diabetic. And so for her to not have to go through those finger pricks that you mentioned earlier, and she's got she's gone back and forth. She's just now started using a pump again. And it's nice though. I mean, I told her if there is a silver lining, and she was diagnosed when she was 17 and she's 22 now. So it's come on later in life for her. And I was like, well, the good news is you're forced to monitor your glucose levels, which most people don't have a clue. And so fortunately, she was already a really healthy individual to begin with. And so now monitoring her glucose levels has just kind of, enhanced that. But that's what I just think is so cool. There's just so much data we can actually gather now and actually execute on in our health that it's almost, why wouldn't you do that? Now, let me ask you this. Now, this is kind of a more of a trade question than it is product and health and wellness question. How hard is it for you to find quality molecules? And then are you outsourcing your manufacturing? Or are you guys doing it yourselves? Or do you have kind of a combination? How does that all stack up? Because I know that's just kind of like one of the problems with the supplement industry, as you well know now that you're living this life, is that there's just so much garbage out there that's created in China or whatever, shipped over here. You don't know what's in it. How are you guys on the back end? How do you source and manufacture? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we have very complicated operation. Like how hard this is. That we have the testing, the data collection, not only the collection but then data manipulation. You have to build the system, the AI platform to do this. I mean, it has taken us many years, and many developers building it for 3 years. We decided very early that we want to be a multi-product company. We don't want to be a company like Athletic Greens that has one product, one green powder. Right. And to do that, you have to rely on partners. So we've been looking at the world, and I travel the world to find partners for ingredients, for manufacturing partners. And we have the protein is made in California. The pills are packed in Nevada. More things coming in the US. The gummies are coming from Europe. There was nobody in the US who could do what we needed to be done. And we are making them in Europe and under the EU regulation umbrella that people might not know, but the EU regulation on supplementation is very different than in the US. They are looking at it more like a medication than we do in the US. So there's it's a wild, wild west, like you said. And we decided in the beginning to test every product before we ship it out. And that's what we have done. And the second hire we had in the company was a person who built the only independent supplement testing system in the US. So he was at the Labdoor, the leading science person at the Labdoor. If you know them, they're the website that is testing supplements. So he built that system, and he came to us to rebuild that system for Elo. And the first hire was a scientist who has been published in Nature and was in a Nobel-winning team before. She was one of the people in a team who invented and found out the mad cow disease 20 years ago. So somebody who's like really accomplished, wanted to come to nutrition because it loves this area, wants to make a real impact in real people's lives every day. That was the beginning of the company. We kind of started from the science, rooted in science deeply. And of course, now we have many people who are from the nutrition side, the tech side and data. But the company really tries to be a brain between the data from your body and between the nutrients we send. So that's the Elo swim lane. We are the brain in the middle. And that's what we do ourselves. That's where the IP lies. For example, we patented, this idea that we can notify you daily based on your workout data on nutrition. That was like, something had never patented before. And it's pretty powerful, I think.
That's so cool. And so I presume, so there's an Elo app. Is that what I'm looking? Is that where I would get that data, or is it emailed?
Yeah, so the Elo app on iPhone today, we hope to be Android, sometime soon.
Okay.
Yeah, not today because the Apple Health is this unbelievable platform. And we have 3 co-founders at Elo, and one of us is a person who spent a decade at Apple in the Apple design team with Tony Ivan. He built some of the products that you use today, that everybody uses. So, and he was involved in this Apple Health initiative early on. So we really believe that Apple Health will become this default gateway for our health data globally.
That's fantastic. I wish somewhere over here. So I'm about to do all of my biomarkers right now, and I've got 3 different blood kits. I've got my urine stool sample. So my business partner that I told you about, every Friday we do an episode of the Jason Wright Show that's called Authentic Health Fridays, where he comes on and we'll take let's like a mini masterclass on a different topic. We did molecules here, 3 weeks ago or so. But one of the projects that I've started is, I'm 48, and so I am going to try to keep my biological age below 50 as long as possible. And so, as you know, I got to start that benchmark. So I've got all the different tests that I'm about to go through right now to find that. So what I wanted to ask, and so if I'm a subscriber to Elo Health, I'm going to do finger pricks, and then do I just like put it on the card and then I send that back to you guys? Is that how it works? Okay. And how is, so therefore I'm not actually having to do a draw, because Peter Diamandis is like a partner in some company where they're sending out mobile phlebotomists, right? They have a network of phlebotomists. They're coming out, they're doing draws and probably doing some of the similar markers, I would think. But Elo Health, I just have to do, and I got to tell you, of all those test kits over there, this one is the one that I'm not so worried about, because it's just a finger prick and on a card versus having the draws done. So sounds to me like that's some of the friction that you guys have removed there too, is just the actual getting the blood. That's a big benefit, I would think.
Yeah, I think the blood testing is something that, if you go back 5 years, very few people had done at-home testing of any kind. Yeah. Now we all have been stuck in, nose swabs, in our brain too often. We all know that. We all have done that. So there's this sort of an inherent knowledge that we have created into our lives because of the COVID. And many people they couldn't go to the lab, so they were doing at-home finger pricking. And of course, in the US, we have had this big, black cloud from Theranos that made basically market, the market that nobody wanted to touch. There was no innovation happening in blood testing for almost a decade. And the innovation was happening in Europe. It was happening in Asia, not in the US. And now last maybe 7 years, we have seen a lot of innovation. Companies like, Q and others have raised, $1 billion to build new ways of testing blood. So we are not far today of the world where you can actually collect the blood at home in a way it won't be painful at all. Because the finger pricking, it doesn't really hurt, but, it's annoying. There'll be a new device coming in the coming months and years that are going to be very easy, like a solder sucking device that can suck the blood out and then you send it out to the lab. That's already available, but it collects wet blood, and then the wet blood you have to send to the lab within 24 or 48 hours. So if you don't do it, it's a hot day, your blood sample goes bad, and that's a lot of wasted cost and effort. The finger prick is nice because the blood will dry, and you can then send it out. There's no really time limit. It can be a good quality sample for up to 1 month. So that's a big benefit for the process. And also you can send it in a small envelope. It's very cost effective to do. But yeah, I think we are like maybe 2 or 3 years away before everybody will start doing the collection at home, because we did take about 4 drops of blood, and that's enough for the 12 biomarkers. We want to do more. I mean, we want to do, ApoB, LPA, testosterone. Those are coming soon. But we have limitations. We have to take something away to do those, because the amount of blood, there's a payload, amount of blood and amount of tests you can do on the blood, because you can't thin the blood too far. So that is the kind of the economics of that system. But I hope, in a moment it will go away. And like we discussed, Apple Watch and other devices like that will have the glucose monitoring. That will change everything. It will also, by the way, have blood pressure. It will change everything. We can predict heart attack. We can predict when you might die, and we can actually, call the ambulance before you might die, or direct you to go to a hospital before you're having a heart attack. That will be unbelievably amazing soon. And at the same time, we will soon be able to drop a couple drops of blood on a like, think about like a cartridge type of thing, and you can put it in a machine at home, and you will get all these biomarkers in the convenience of your home. Price point $10, I think, per run. And there's a lot of development now, new silicon that can actually test the blood, maybe like 1 or 2 biomarkers at a time. But, it will be, 10, 15, 20, 100 in the coming years. And that world, we're going to have an abundance of data, and you can get the data every day if you want. So I think the world we are walking in, it looks so exciting. I mean, and my hope in this whole thing, and why I do this, I do this because this is an area I can probably have the biggest impact. Maybe it's not my company or my things. Maybe I invest in a company who does it, or maybe I help somebody to get excited in this podcast to go build the new thing. But I think we're going to build a universal theory of human health in the next 25 years. And that will give us the 100-year life span and health span. And maybe we go beyond that. But there's a really interesting news that came out this week. I don't know if you saw it, but Stanford published a study, and they said that half the people today, 5 years old, will live up to 100.
That's amazing.
And that is really positive thinking. I would love to get that posted all around us. It won't happen if we don't do these things, but I think it will happen anyway.
I agree, man. I tell you what, you ought to sign up with me. So, Peter Attia, he's always talking about his centenarian decathlon that he's going to compete in, but I don't know who's going to compete in. So he's a little older than me. I'm 48. You're a little younger than me, I think, right? Are you
45?
You're 45. Okay. So I think if you're within 5 years of 100, you should be allowed to participate. So I think we need to start going ahead and gathering up the athletes right now that will participate against Peter Attia in the centenarian decathlon. That's amazing. 5-year-olds, 50% of them will live to be 100. And I'm not surprised. And that's the thing. I think that what you're doing, Ari, and the reason why I was so excited about this conversation, because of the work I'm trying to do is, I think preventive care is the key. I mean, as you've seen in your 16 years here in the States, we treat the sick. What we do here in America is sick care as opposed to health care. And I think if we can shift our thinking, like, for example, we're always looking for a as opposed to a single payer system like where you came from. I suppose that's probably what it is in Finland. You have universal health care, and you've seen some of the probably the pros and cons of that. But I think as we focus more on preventive care, hey, let me tell you something. I, as a taxpayer right now, would not mind subsidizing some wearables, some extra testing. Now, granted, you've got to get the people to go do it, but nevertheless, I was meeting with the CEO of one of the major hospital systems in Houston a number of years back, and he said that with regard to their type 2 diabetes patients, they were sending nurses to their homes to gather their blood work, get their A1C levels and everything, as opposed to, because if they didn't go out there, the people wouldn't come until they were really sick, really and metabolically challenged. And so it was cheaper for them to go to them and monitor. I think that the type of work that you're doing and the products you're developing, if we can ever get to a place where people realize that nutrition is medicine, these sorts of things, this supplementation and these natural products, it's a lot better to take those on the front end than to have to take a stupid statin on the back end, So this is really cool stuff, man. You got to feel good about the space you're in.
Yeah, I do, and I'm hopeful, and I think all of these things will happen. And let me tell one example that I saw this like I already said about the step counter thing, that something that I saw maybe as first people in the world, maybe first 10 people, is now used by a billion people. That's only 20 years. But another point that it's even more fundamental, that we were developing the first mobile games at Nokia. Think about the Snake and others, back in the days.
Yeah.
And yes, people played them. Today, mobile gaming is bigger than music and movies and books combined. When we started, it was maybe a $20 million market globally. Today, it's 150 billion or 150 billion globally.
Right.
4 billion people play games. And how many people would have believed 20 years ago if I would have said to some reporter or analyst that 20 years later there will be 4 billion people will play mobile games.
Yeah.
Nobody in the world would have ever believed that. Nobody had a business case that was even thinking there will be more than 100 million people.
Right.
So when things happen, and when companies like Apple and Google and Amazon are at the forefront of making them happen, they are not going to be small. They're going to be massive.
Yeah.
And I think you said it pretty well already. And I would even maybe harden the point and say that it will be a medical malpractice not to prescribe a patient the Apple Watch or whatever it will be called with glucose monitor and the AFib detection, activity detection, sleep, and also the blood pressure. When that device is out there, it is a medical malpractice not to prescribe that or not to pay that to be in the hand of every person in the US. Because we're going to save so many lives.
Yep.
And based on the mobile gaming example, you might not understand why it makes sense here. Those games were so addictive and exciting that people wanted to play them. When we built these healthcare systems, a new healthcare system, where we gamify the data in the right way, nobody has yet done it. There are some ideas and glimpses. Elo does one tiny fraction of it. But when we do it properly, and when the big guys like Apple and Amazon and Google and others do it, it will be really great. And we all going to use it, and we all going to be healthier.
Could not agree more. And to your point, and so for the listener out there that they think they have been immune from the gamification of different things that you're like, I've got this book right now. You'll love this, Ari. Nur Eyal, he wrote the book Hooked.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, right? And so that's what it's all about. And like now, again, back to the listener that doesn't think they're a part of this gamification of things. How many products do you get badges for now, right? You have a badge, like a Ladder, which is my workout app that I use. I work out with Ben Greenfield through the Ladder app. They've started adding badges. Peloton, you get badges for different things. It's a small, little, tiny piece of gaming because when people get on streaks, whenever they improve month over month, we love it. There is absolutely a behavioral science behind it, or the behavioral science to this, that we love that. So if we can get people more into it, and like what I think you're so close, man, on matching some of these markers with activities. And then I think that will be a game changer when somebody is able to piece that technology together to just, again, well, it's a lot of it is like on that Apple Watch you're wearing, dude, I was obsessed with my rings. There's a reason why you see the rings, and then the number of days that you've worked out, you had 7 weeks straight of exercising, whatever. It is a powerful force on the human psyche.
It's so interesting that my good friend, he was the person who led the Apple Watch project. He was the first name on the Apple Watch when they announced it on the podium.
Wow!
Then he was there, and he's the guy behind the rings, and little they knew that this was maybe 8 years ago. Well, before that they already invented 10 years ago. But today, the rings have maybe been the biggest vehicle of weight loss in the history of humans. That's just how, because there are hundreds of millions of people now who are closing the rings every day.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable impact. And he's happily living now early ripe age of 49 retirement in Portugal. and but he feels good about that every day, that he built something that is helping and will probably help billion people in the end. Apple has today billion people paying for the services, the music and the health and app stores and so forth. So it's unbelievable.
That's crazy. Wow. Well, all right. So Ari, how can people find you? How do they learn more about Elo Health and follow your journey? How do people keep in touch with you? And those who want to become subscribers, I guess, is that the right, or members? Is that the right word? Okay. How do they find you?
Yeah. So I'm how would I put it? Trying to limit my online presence a little bit. I think the Twitter or X, I think I burned my bridge with that platform. So Instagram and Meta, I think the same thing happened. But I'm on LinkedIn, and that's what a platform I use. So if you want to, follow my musings, follow me on LinkedIn, Ari Tulla. Easy to find, the only person with that name. And I try to be actively there, sharing stuff and open about, my own tribulations. And I do a lot of testing myself. I post there about my own health. And you can also follow the Elo.health. Elo.health is our website, and we have a blog where we have I think 200,000 people come every month to read our stuff. We do a lot of, stuff about health and human performance, supplements, so forth. Really good, I think, content today. We have a team writing that is really good. And also, if you want to, test Elo, test the new supplements, go to Elo.health and you can subscribe today. And we are shipping the whole country.
Fantastic. I meant to ask you this earlier and I forgot. So Dave Asprey, I've actually talked to them about, he's doing these upgrade labs, which is more of like a very, very niche boutique type environment where to sell the bulletproof vitamins or supplements, as well as some AI generated workout equipment. Will y'all ever have, or do you have that I'm not aware of, a physical presence? Do you think that'll be coming in the future, or you'll have nutritionists and the health coaches? Is that something you have out on the West Coast and maybe taking across the country, or are there any plans for that?
Not today. If you are listening and you run a clinic or something focused in these areas, like we talk to a lot of folks, like Pre-Nouveau and QBio and others that could be partner. We haven't really done that. We have a first B2B partnership that will be really big for us. It will be launched December. Very surprising when people are going to hear about it, but absolutely, I think Elo will become a company that can be a powering entity. So if you think about Intel Inside, we have a concept called Elo powered by you. So we bring your data into new products. That's what our brain can do. And it can do many, many type of products. So don't be surprised if you see something really interesting coming from Elo in the next 2 years. And we are debating a lot about should we go more in person. So, don't be surprised if, you might see in California, Elo in your nearby farmers market soon. But because we want to go talk to people more. But we have no plans of having like labs or these high street, facilities where you can go and hang out and do stuff. It's just too expensive to build that. And we want to be serving the whole country, not only one state.
Fantastic. Well, this was an awesome conversation, Ari. I could go on. And I do hope you'll come back. I want to continue this. I want to turn this into a friendship. And this is the sort of thing that I think it's exactly the sort of information I love to bring to this audience. I think it's beneficial to the world at large. And so, Godspeed, brother. Keep up the good work. And this has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Hey, big thanks for having me.
Well, that does it for this episode of The Jason Wright Show. Thank you so much for listening. This has been a Texas Titan Media production. Fourth Wall did the music. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Please consider going out to jasonwrightnow.com and signing up for the Vitruvian letter. Also, please go out to iTunes. It takes like 30 seconds to just leave us a 5-star rating. It does wonders for the podcast. I would be so grateful. And with that, until we meet again, go crush it and endeavor to improve always in all ways. I'm out.